First impressions can hold great power in shaping how we perceive and remember experiences. Whether it's meeting someone new, experiencing new places, or some other third thing, those initial moments set the tone and often determine how much we enjoy or dislike something. And that is no different when it comes to video games. The opening level of a game functions as a player's introduction to a game, its world, and its mechanics. So today I'm going to talk about how successful or unsuccessful Sonic games are at doing so by ranking each opening level in the mainline series. And by the way, I will only be ranking levels that are accessible at the start of the game. For example, I will not be ranking the other characters' first levels in Sonic Adventure because you have to play some of Sonic's campaign first before you can access the others. But that's enough of the introduction. Let's start where it all began. Green Hill Zone is not only the introduction to this game, but to the series as a whole, and it sure makes a great first impression. It's a perfect introduction to Sonic's core gameplay mechanic of momentum-based speed, and it offers players easy access to be able to gain it as well as use it to overcome its many momentum-dependent platforming obstacles in the stage. It also finds that perfect balance between speed and exploration. The level design offers a good bit of multiple unique paths for replayability without noticeably toning down your speed for any of them. And the effort to maintain it is just challenging enough for new and veteran players. Overall, this makes Green Hill Zone a shining example of how to design an engaging and memorable opening level to this day, and gets an easy S tier. Sonic 2's Emerald Hill Zone takes a lot of inspiration from Green Hill, but unlike Green Hill's perfect blend of both speed and exploration, Sonic 2 spent more VC on the speed instead. This level is an absolute blast to speed through. Whether you end up on the high, middle, or low path, you will find speed easily in this level, a good bit thanks to the brand new Spin Dash ability. It's fun to not only gain speed but also maintain it, and even if you lose it, you can easily gain it back, which I think is great for new players. If you are a type of person that likes a lot of exploration, there isn't that much here for you, far from nothing, but it's done better in other Sonic games. But for me personally, as someone who doesn't mind that very much, Emerald Hill is an easy S tier. Sonic CD is much more of the game for anyone who appreciates exploration. Although I feel like at times in this game, the time travel mechanic can feel pretty disjointed from the flow of speed gameplay, Palm Tree Panic does not suffer from this problem. Palm Tree Panic is a great way to introduce players to the time travel mechanics. There are several time travel signs as well as many sections of the level design to give you the ability to achieve and maintain speed to time travel. The robot generators are also in very beginner-friendly locations, and I believe this makes the exploration in this level really fun. However, if you aren't looking to time travel in these stages, and instead mostly just speed through them, there isn't a lot here for you. It's almost the exact opposite of Sonic 2 in that aspect. But honestly, I think Emerald Hill does its speed better than Palm Tree does its exploration. And once again, I prefer a Sonic game that focuses more on speed than exploration. I mean, it's a Sonic game. So because of that, I'm gonna give Palm Tree Panic a solid B tier. I'm gonna be honest, Sonic 3's Angel Island Zone is one of the main reasons why I'm making this video. Because Angel Island might just be one of, if not the best first level in video game history. This level isn't just good, but it also makes an intentional effort to teach players all the new features that they added in this game, while still feeling just as natural as any other stage. On its own, not even considering those things that this level does to benefit first-time players, this level is an S tier. It's a very well-paced level with great platforming that initiates a fun challenge of trying to maintain speed. The platforming in these levels aren't difficult, but there are definitely some sections that require careful timing and intention to avoid mistakes. And the exploration in this aspect is not just enjoyable, it's also, for lack of a better word, inviting. Going for the special stage rings doesn't feel pace-breaking. You don't feel the need to try and go out of your way to find multiple special rings in the stage, but at the same time, they aren't freebies either, or at least most of them aren't. That's too easy! Sonic 3 adds new features to the series, one of those features being the 3 elemental shields, Fire, Bubble, and Lightning. All give Sonic new unique abilities while also having strengths and weaknesses, and this level showcases that brilliantly. For example, the Fire Shield gives you immunity to all fire-based attacks. And that is the main way that the two boss fights attack you. And right before both of them, there are reasonably attainable fire shields right before them, therefore showcasing its strengths. But say you beat the Act 1 boss with the fire shield, which is very likely, there is a section where you have to touch water right at the start of Act 2, but the fire shield will of course vanish in the water, showcasing its weakness, and gives players a full grasp of this concept by the end of this zone. It's this and the other little things that Angel Island does, like basically forcing you to play a special stage at the start of Act 2, that makes it not just a top tier Sonic level, but a top tier opening level in gaming history, and easily deserves an S tier. So, while Sonic 3 sets a strong tone with Angel Island as a memorable and helpful opening level, Sonic & Knuckles with Mushroom Hill Zone doesn't do that. If you didn't know, Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles were originally designed to just be one game, and that's a big reason why this level isn't nearly as impactful nor beginner friendly as Angel Island Zone, because Mushroom Hill was originally designed to just be a mid-game level. Not only does it not do anything to help first-time players learn new features or mechanics, but it can actively hinder their progress because of its unwelcoming level design. Pace-breaking gimmicks like this crank lever thing and this sticky sap, annoying enemies like this mushroom throwing dude, these mosquitoes that can come out of nowhere and blindside you, and this darn chicken that blows you away, all can make for a pretty sour first impression. And although this level does have good speed in some sections, mostly on the higher paths, it's not enough to save it from being a lackluster opening level. And overall, it gets a C tier. Knuckles Chaotix is a weird Sonic game. Not just in the unique ring tether mechanics, but also in the way that you progress through this game. Unlike other Sonic games that have an established order for stages, instead, players are taken to the world entrance, where the game chooses which one of 5 stages to go to. So technically, all of these stages are equally first levels, so I have to rank all of them, right?
Wrong!
I don't have to worry about any of those stages because there is a level that occurs before you can access any of them, that being Isolated Island Zone. And when I use the term level, I use that very loosely because this stage isn't much of a level. There are no enemies, no death pits, there really isn't any difficulty in this level. Just these door obstacles that are designed to let you practice the holding in the ring tether mechanic, and that's just about it. This isn't bad necessarily. In fact, I'd argue a stage like this is needed in this game, and it does its job decently enough, but because of just how simplistic it is, I can't rank this any higher than a C tier. I'll be quick with this one. This game sucks. The top-down view sucks, the primary goal of collecting flickies sucks, Sonic controls like he's constantly on ice, like it's just a bad game. And although there are worse levels in this game, and this level doesn't do anything extra to dismay new players, Green Grove Zone and Sonic 3D Blast as a whole for that matter, it's just a bad time all around. F tier. Now it's time for the real 3D Sonic game, Sonic Adventure. Ignoring the opening Chaos fight, the first level of Sonic's campaign is Emerald Coast. I believe that Sonic Adventure is still one of the best that Sonic has controlled in a 3D environment to this day, and Emerald Coast is nearly a perfect example of this. Because what makes Emerald Coast so great is that it allows for these controls to shine. Sonic speed is done perfectly with great help from the spin dash in this game. Reaching top speed is very satisfying, and maintaining it has just the right level of difficulty for new and veteran players. The platforming isn't much to write home about, but it's present enough, and I believe that there could have been a little bit more multiple paths, but the replayability in this level mostly comes in finding unique ways to speed through it. There are multiple things that you can do in this level to completely skip over parts of the level to save time, like the spin dash jump you can do at the beginning of the level, or skipping this section of the level entirely by jumping down past it. This is not something that we see in a lot of Sonic games nowadays, or at least not in the way that Adventure does it. Also, that killer whale chase will forever be iconic. It's not a perfect, but it's a dang good way to introduce Sonic to 3D. A very solid A tier. Chances are some of you about to get real pissed off. Sonic Adventure 2 is split into 2 campaigns. the hero story and the dark story. Both are accessible to you as soon as you start the game, so I will rank the first levels of both of them. Starting with the hero story, we have City Escape. And I know that everybody loves this level, and I really tried to like it, but I really just don't mess with this level. I think the main problem that I have with it is its speed. Like, this level isn't slow. I mean, technically this level has multiple sections where you do go very fast, like whenever you're on the highway and stuff, but speed is not necessarily earned in these sections. It's given. And although maintaining that speed is still a thing and an okay challenge in these sections, it feels very unsatisfying. Then whenever you're in these park areas, the speed aspect here is awful. At hardly any point in these sections can you gain and maintain a top speed for even a little bit of time. It's just basic boring platforming that you can find in any other game in the genre. I also can't stand when these robots jump in your way right in front of you. It's almost like the game is begging for you to go slower, and I shouldn't even need to explain why that's a problem. But I will give credit where it's due. It does teach players how to effectively use the homing attack and the brand new rail grinding mechanic added in this game by teaching players how to use it in a safe environment before levels like this. And also the gun truck chase at the end portion of the stage does make for a good spectacle, but I feel like this stage just misses the fundamentals of what makes a good Sonic level. And because of that, I'm giving it a D tier. Then there's the first level of the dark story being Iron Gate. The mech stages in this game suck, and Iron Gate isn't even one of the non-terrible ones. The mech stages are naturally slow, but Iron Gate is even slower. The stage has these barrier doors that completely stop your already slow as hell progress, and is just annoying enough to aim at all 4 targets on the doors that it pisses me off. And there are also these 2 sections where all you do is just go down this slow ass platform. Like, I wouldn't mind it being so slow if during this section it gave you main things to aim at, but no, it's just like 4 or 5 robots at a time that you can gun down in like 3 seconds. So most of the time you're just riding on a slow elevator ride doing nothing at all, or doing Seriously though, nothing can make for a worse first impression in the Sonic game than a level as slow as this. F tier. Next up is Sonic Heroes, and unfortunately, since you have access to every team from the start, you gotta rank all 4 of them. But fortunately, I have just about the same opinion on every team. Sonic Heroes introduces team-based gameplay to the series, and honestly, I don't really like it. It's not bad, like it isn't broken or anything, it works, it just isn't for me. In my opinion, Heroes gameplay just feels like normal 3D Sonic, but with extra steps, which makes it feel slower. And Seaside Hill for everyone is just okay. It's a solid level that does a pretty good job at teaching you how to play effectively, but actually I will shout out Team Chaotix because the mission of finding 10 hermit crabs is honestly perfect for making this slower gameplay style feel warranted, because the objective is not just reaching the end of the stage as fast as you can, instead it's focused more on exploration, and I feel like that's where Hero shines the best. So for Team Sonic, Dark, and Rose, I'm giving a C tier. So for the Chaotix, I'm giving them a B tier. Shadow the Hedgehog is also a weird one. This game introduces a morality system where you can choose to complete either hero or villain objectives, and that alongside implementing gunplay causes this game to feel very different from your normal adventure-style game. And Westopolis introduces these new mechanics relatively well. The game gives you access to multiple different firearms, and the level design is nice and simple to allow players to experiment and get comfortable with the new objectives, but it's honestly a little too simple. There isn't really any platforming to do in this stage, just attacking different enemies and dodging lasers. Also, some people don't like how Shadow controls in this game, but to me he's pretty fun to control, and I do actually enjoy using the weapons in this game as well. So overall, this level still leaves a lot to be desired, so I'm gonna give it a C tier.
Nope.
After Sonic 06 had nearly killed the franchise, Sonic Unleashed had the task of redeeming the franchise's reputation, and a strong opening level was pretty much needed to do so. And I believe that Windmill Isle successfully completed this task. Act 1 is pretty much just a tutorial level to let players dip their feet into the new boost gameplay before being thrown into the deep end in Act 2 where things get going. It's a really great high-speed level to try and blast through as fast as possible. The challenge is that this level throws at you are easy enough for a new player to maintain a good sense of speed while still offering enough for veteran players to try and optimize the level and speed through it as quickly as possible. And the placement of the tokens are good enough to add to the replayability. I also really like the sort of Grease-inspired aesthetic in this level, and it's pretty unique for your typical opening Sonic level. However, I will have to knock it down a few points for not really having all that much platforming in it, especially leaving the 2D sections in particular to feel a bit useless. But all things considered, this is still a great level that introduced boost gameplay very effectively, so I'm going to make it a solid A tier. Now it's time for my first Sonic game, Sonic Colors, and its first level, Tropical Resort. Now in this game, instead of the different stages being 2 to 3 acts with each one being 3 to 4 minutes long, instead each has 6 acts with each level being about 1 to 2 minutes long. So because of that, I will be taking all 6 acts into consideration here, and that leads Tropical Resort to have its highs and lows. The highs mostly come from the 3D sections in these levels. Act 1 and Act 3 especially are great examples of this, and Act 3 shows that when the Laser Wisp is utilized properly, it could be a great addition to 3D gameplay, and the replayability is almost second to none due to the red rings being hidden very well in most of these stages. And of course, the Wisps add a major replayability aspect as well, where one way of completing a level can feel almost entirely different than the other. But then there are the lows. Not all the 2D platforming in this world is bad, far from it, but there are definitely some points where it can get pretty pace-breaking, like these fans in Act 2 or these slow-add rotating platforms in Act 6. Still though, I may be biased, but I think overall, the highs really outweigh the lows. And this is a great world that introduces players to the Wisp and gives great speed, platforming, and replayability. So this level gets an A tier. Sonic Generations is next, and yes, I will be ranking both modern and classic levels. Starting with Classic Sonic, I think that this was a really good level that introduced him into this game. The level has good speed for a new player, but for skilled players, there are almost unlimited ways to try to optimize this level, mostly using the spin dash, which I think is amazing in this game. I just wish that the level design was slightly more favorable towards it in this level, like I believe it is for other levels. Then there's Modern Sonic's level, which is fantastic. It's always a blast to go back to this stage and try to optimize this already really fast level. However, that kind of carries the replayability since the red rings are quite easy to get. Not first try easy, but still not hard to find by any means. And the platforming is just okay. I feel like these 2D sections could feel a little bit better paced, but I think that's just a nitpick for real. Overall, both of these levels are very solid and vibrant recreations of this iconic stage. Therefore, it is a solid A tier. Sonic Lost World introduced a brand new parkour system, and Windy Hill introduced this mechanic relatively well. In the 4 acts of this world, there are 2 3D levels and 1 level with both 2D and 3D sections. The 3D tube-like sections can lead to solid replayability, and the red rings in these stages are pretty solid. The platforming in the 2D sections can be pretty satisfying with the controls, but there are almost no multiple paths in these levels at all, leaving these levels to have almost no replayability. Not even the red star rings or the Wisp can save it in these levels. Also, I like that you encounter Zaz more than once in these levels. He's easy as hell to beat, but I still think it was pretty cool and makes the bosses feel more integrated into the gameplay rather than just a standalone fight. Overall, Windy Hill gets a C tier out of me. Sonic Mania is a love letter to the old classic Sonic games, and Green Hill is a great example of this. Act 1 is a perfect blend of all 3 acts of the original. It somehow manages to keep a very strong, consistent speed and unique paths alongside the original level designs from the first game. And the boss fight is a pretty solid revamp of the original as well. Then Act 2 is where they do something completely new, and it's perfect classic Sonic design. I'm talking multiple extremely unique paths, with the higher paths reaching fantastic speeds and the lower paths having more exploration opportunities, and those paths make replayability a must for this stage. Also, the boss fight, being the Death Egg robot, is not only insanely cool this early in the game, but they also redesigned it to be very fun and accessible challenge for all players, especially those who are vastly familiar with the series. So this level in this game as a whole gets an easy S tier. Sonic Forces is one of the worst games in the franchise, and many of the reasons why that is can be seen in Sand Hill, Lost Valley. This stage has got to be one of, if not the most basic level in the boost era. The 3D sections can simply be boosted through, and the short 2D section has the most basic platforming I've ever seen. And there is literally one alternative path in this level, and it's literally just the same thing, but with a red ring at the end of it. No, seriously, I don't even think you go any faster down this path. This level is so basic that at this point it just isn't a Sonic level. But hey, at least this level sets you up for what to expect in the rest of the game. That's something, I guess. Easy F tier. Sonic Frontier starts with the Cyberspace level 1-1. And I did highly consider ranking all of the first world stages here, but decided not to because you have to go through a good bit of the open zone gameplay to access the others. So to me, that makes the levels separate enough to not have to rank all of them. With that being said, there isn't much to say here. Remember when I said that Act 1 of Windmill Isle was basically just a tutorial level before getting to the actual game? Yeah, that's this level. No, seriously, it's almost a one-to-one copy of this stage, except with worse controls. I mean, at least this level has red rings, where Windmill Isle didn't have any tokens in its stage, but even then, there are in such easy locations that you would need someone who has never played a 3D Sonic game before to not get all of them in their first try. Once again, there isn't much to say here, but at least it isn't bad, so D tier, I guess. Sonic Superstars was the long-awaited return of Classic Sonic. You know, after the long-awaited return of Classic Sonic. And its opening level, Bridge Island Zone, is a great return to form. In both levels, speed and exploration are done really well. It definitely tries to reach that perfect blend like Green Hill does in Sonic 1. However, I don't think the speed, even with the drop dash, is quite as good as that level, but still great. I also like how this level has easily obtainable special stage rings, so new players can easily try them out and gain access to their avatar ability, while still having 1 or 2 more hidden ones so that veteran players can still have something to come back to. And speaking of the emerald abilities, they can add a lot to this stage's replayability. There are sections where you can effectively use Bullet, Water, Vine, and to a much lesser extent Vision to gain ways to collect item boxes or even other special rings. If there was one thing that I would really have to get on this level for, it will be the boss fights. The first one isn't even really a boss fight. You just run straight and jump once and the boss is done. And the second fight is just straight annoying without using the chaos abilities. I mean, like after every hit, you won't be able to even attack him at all for a good 10 seconds. And he has like 3 different phases and all of them take way longer to transition than they should. And it's just tedious. But even then, Bridge Island is still a great level with an albeit tired atmosphere that still deserves an A tier. And last but certainly not least, Shadow Generations. I'ma just say what I think we're too afraid to say. This is the best Sonic game of all time. And I don't mean Sonic X-Shadow Generations, no. Shadow Generations on its own is the best Sonic game of all time. It delivers a flawless experience from beginning to end, and said experience begins with Space Colony Ark. Like bro, where do I even begin with this level? There are so many incredible aspects that makes this the perfect first experience. First of all, this level is so open. Like seriously, there is probably some sort of different unique path in this level like every 10 seconds. Hell, not even 10 seconds into the level and you're given this alternative grind rail that saves time. There are so many ways to optimize speed, and collecting the hidden tokens do add to the replayability as well. This level also introduces the chaos control ability extremely well. The game gives you multiple different scenarios where it can be used, and when you start to figure them out, you'll feel like a master at it by the end of the level. The Doom section is a nice way to change up the scenery, however, I don't like the slide section. It isn't pace breaker or anything, I just don't like how it controls. But even despite that, this level is still fantastic. Then there's Act 2, the 2D stage, and even it is a work of art. This stage strikes a balance by offering both numerous opportunities for speed optimization and a variety of alternate paths to explore. This stage was also designed to teach you how to use Chaos Sphere, and it does so very well. I just wish there were a little more interesting ways they could have done it. Like, for the most part, it's just If you want to go through here, you gotta use Chaos Sphere first, and to be fair, that is what it's like for most of the game, but I just wish there was something more distinctive to make it stand out. Just like Act 1, there is one tiny thing in this level that I don't love, and it's these spinning column things. Once again, not bad or pace breaking, and it is a nod to the OG stage, but it can get awkward at times trying to jump off of them. But once again, that's just a nitpick to an otherwise perfect level. And both of these combined just makes for the absolute best first impression of the series when it comes to gameplay. And that is why we are ending this list with Space Colony Ark earning an S tier. Thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all enjoyed this, and this is my first kind of video like this. And if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. And once again, if you disagree with anything in this video or think that there's something that I can improve on, please let me know in the comments down below. But with all that being said, thank you for giving me some of your time. I'm KJ Cool, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.